This
For
conference
Ashford
will now
didn't
be
remind
recorded.
me. Now, in this problem, you have a colleague that wants to sell 2,000 hurricanes at the Mardi Gras. Okay. And he needs a selling price so that he can get an income. He wants an income of 15,000. So your job is to come up with the unit cost. He's going to hire somebody, a bartender, pay him $20 an hour, and he thinks that bartender can sell 100 drinks an hour. So I'm just putting this up here early so you can be thinking about it as we go through class today. But what's the unit cost and what's the selling price going to need to be? And then we'll calculate a POR so that he can make $15,000. And that's a nice little relevant problem, and it's showing you uh, how this information that we're working on now can be used. So we'll come back to this probably the last 15 or 20 minutes of the class. But are there any preliminary problems? I just wanted you to be thinking about it ahead of time so you can get it solved. Are there any preliminary questions?
I got a question.
Okay.
All right. Yesterday, I mean not yesterday, but the last class period, you was going over like trying to find the labor productivity. Like we had to put the answers on the right, and you had on the first one you divided, and then on the second problem you multiplied.
Mm-hmm. So why did we do that? Huh? Is that the question?
Yeah, that was the question.
Okay, so we'll look at that. Are there any other questions? Because I will say that, I was going through seeing when you all going to turn it in, and you all were a little slow turning them in as if it was something this was hard to do. Uh, so let's go back and review. Let me just see if I can find.
Dr. Boyd, another question is the MOH. We didn't talk about MOH last class period.
We didn't? I thought we did. Let's see, where's unit cost at? We didn't talk about POR at all? Anybody did we talk about POR?
We talked about POR, but not the MOH. So the MOH are the rental booth that you got there? Because that would be our overhead, correct?
Yeah, that's
Like
your
part of our
overhead.
overhead.
Okay, so I just want you in that problem to do an MOH. And like I said, we'll get to that later, but let me see. Worksheet. I need my unit cost worksheet. That one. Teams. Just because I wanted it, it will not show up. Okay, here it come. Here it come now. This is I'll have to improvise a little bit. Can you see this at all?
Yes, sir.
Can you see that?
Talking about the
Yes.
paper round, right? Ring.
Right.
Yeah, I could see like the upper half. Let me see.
I mean, you can see what's on it.
Yeah. Well, like with premium. Yeah, I could see it.
Okay. Let me see this. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see it. And this was the example that we were using coming up with the cost of this book. And we were using one ream of paper at $15. We had $400 in ink cartridges that was going to print 50 books. And our labor productivity was that 40 and 20. Then we had the total overhead of 30,000. And the question was, if 1,000 books will be manufactured, what is the unit cost to manufacture one book? Just like in your problem, you got to come up with the cost of one drink. And we're given the selling price multiple too. And so we said in the problem, the raw materials was $15. And because it was $400 to, and we could make 50 books with it, we said that the cost of the ink was 8. 15 and 8. Are there any questions? Okay.
No, sir. Oh,
In the labor productivity, the rate was 20. The worker could produce 40 books. So we divided 40 into 20 and got 50 cents as the labor rate. Any questions so far? And then to simplify uh, the overhead, I tell you simply to take the total overhead that's estimated, divided by the quantity. And so when we added all of these costs up, we got 5350, okay? And 107 was the selling price because we multiplied 2 times the 5350. Any questions on that? So everybody can do that, correct? Okay. Then we got into how do we determine a predetermined overhead rate, okay? And we got this formula. So let's just look. Suppose I ask you for the problem that we have to come up with the predetermined overhead rate. Now, this rate is going to be utilized to make journal entries. Okay, it's going to be utilized to make journal entries. And we're going to use a couple of items out of the assumptions. The 30,000, which is the total cost. And we're also going to use our quantity that we're making 1,000. So the 30,000 and the 1,000 are the first two items that come in. So in coming up with the predetermined overhead rate, 30,000, so we're just looking at this first column, is the overhead. Quantity is 1,000, okay? That's given. The labor productivity was 40, okay? The labor productivity was 40. We could make 40 books in an hour. So the question is, how many hours will it take to produce 1,000 books if we can produce 40 books in 1 hour? Okay, how many books will it take to make 1,000? So if we can make 40 in an hour, then how many hours is it going to take to make 1,000? We simply divide 40 into 1,000 and we got 25. Any questions? No questions. Okay. So then to get our POR is simply what? Line 1, which is 30,000, is going to be divided by line 4, which is 25. So 30,000 divided by 25 is how much? Is that 1,200?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? So it's just a computation that you put into this table. It's a computation that you put into this table to get a number, and we're going to use it on Thursday to make a journal entry. Because the overhead is estimated. The overhead is estimated. And we got to make journal entries as we're going through, as we buy the raw materials and pay the workers. We got to estimate what that overhead is. And this number is utilized to do that. So you just got to be able to calculate it. Now, we had two examples, right? Example 2 and 3. In example 2, let's look at example 2. The overhead was how much? 150,000 and the quantity is 10. Did we see that? So we go back to this table. Here's 150,000, the estimated overhead. The quantity is 10,000. And here our labor productivity is 10. We can only produce 10. So we divide the 10 into the 10,000, and we get that it's going to take 1,000 hours to make the books in this situation. The POR is always line 1 divided by line 4. So it's 150,000 divided by 1,000. That gives us 150. Are there any questions on how we get to 150? Now let's move to example 3. Now example 3 is a little different. The overhead is 200,000. The quantity is 10,000, but it takes you 2 hours per book. That is, you're not making 10 in an hour. It's taking you 2 hours to make one book. So when we come up here, we're going to put the 200,000 in, okay? It's 200,000. We're making 10,000, but it takes 2 hours per book. And so since the hours, it takes more than 1 hour to make it, we got to multiply. So the hours is going to be 20,000, and we divide 20,000 into 200,000, and we get 10. So it's two scenarios. In these first two scenarios, we can make 40 books in an hour. We can make 10 books in an hour. We divide it to get the amount on line 4. But if it's a situation where it takes us more than 1 hour, 1 or more hours to make the book, our hours is determined by multiplying. So we have to multiply 2 times 10 to get 20,000. So if you are multiplying to come up with your unit cost, then you're going to be multiplying to get these hours in here. Okay. So if you multiply and get unit cost, let me go back to this example. If you remember when we were working this one out, uh, we divided 10 into 40 to get the unit cost at 4. So when we go to that chart, we're going to divide by 10. In situation 3, we multiplied 2 times 15 and got 30. So when we get ready to calculate the MOH, we got to multiply. So you can come straight from here. Remember, we were calculating the unit cost. In this first one, we divided by 10 to get $4. So when we get ready to make that calculation of the number of hours, we're going to divide 10 into 10,000. But when it took 2 hours, so when we made that calculation of the unit cost, it was 2 hours per book times 15, you got 30. So since you had to multiply, when you come up here in the POR calculation, you must multiply also. Since it's taking you 2 hours, you got to multiply 2 times 10 and get 20,000. Any question? Does that answer the question of whether you got to multiply or divide?
Yes.
So you can handle it from now on, Benny.
Yes, I understand now.
So what you gonna do on your margarita maker? You're gonna multiply and divide. You understand now?
Yes, I understand. I can't see the numbers, so I can't tell you right now.
Oh, you can't tell me. Well, let's see if we can put the numbers in here. Can you see them now?
So let's say 100 per hour, and you said if it's less than 1 hour, you divide.
Is he gonna multiply or divide? He says he's gonna divide. Does anybody agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay, Mike agrees, and that's correct. Benny, you would divide because what? They're making 100 drinks per hour. So since they're making more than one in an hour, when you get ready to calculate the POR, you are going to divide.
So, Dr. Boyd, how do you
And
go? How do you figure out the MOH though? The MOH, and how do you backtrack from the selling price or yielding income? Do we just have to figure out the POR, or do we have to figure out the unit cost as well?
I think you might have to figure out the unit cost to get the selling price. Remember, the selling price is always a multiple. It's always a multiple of the cost.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
So your quantity, you got a quantity of 2,000. Okay. You got to make a profit of 15,000. So you got to do some little backtracking to see what those Mardi Gras, what those hurricanes gonna sell for. Okay, so let's see if we can begin to work some of these problems out. Kind of time for you all to work, isn't it? Okay, let me see if I can find one. Okay, I want everybody to work number 5. So everybody see number 5? Quantity is 20,000. Selling price multiple is 3. Raw materials ink 2. Raw materials paper 1. Direct labor is 1. Direct labor rate is 12. Estimated overhead is 160. So I want everybody to work that one and tell me what the unit cost, selling price, and POR is. So I don't want you to look at anything else. I just want you to work it. And I think I put an Excel spreadsheet in there for you. You can get a blank one of these, but I want everybody working number 5.
So, Dr. Boyd, this is another discussion that we had yesterday and today. So, with that, uh, for ink, does it take 2 ink cartridges at $10 a piece, or
Mm-hmm.
is it
Yeah, you don't
that's what
have
it is?
that big. You don't have those big boxes. These are the small ones.
Okay. So instead of it's not okay. Good.
So in this case, you got to do what? You got to do just like you do with the paper. You got to do what?
Multiply it.
Yep.
Wait, what are we multiplying again? Can you say it one more time?
Okay. In this problem, so you have to read how it's written. It says it's taking 2 ink cartridges at 10. So you got to multiply. You got to read the problem and then, then work it based on what it's saying. So I want to see how, so I want everybody to work number 5. How are we coming? Not taking that long, is it? All right. How much is the ink? At $20.
20,
How much is the paper?
10,
$10.
And
What's the labor?
12.
well,
What's the overhead, unit overhead cost?
8.
eight.
$8.
So you add all of these up, how much do you have?
Let me go back to it.
50.
All right, so our unit cost is 50. What's our selling price going to be?
Wait, don't you gotta do the multiple?
Yeah, that's
50's
so the
right.
unit cost is 50.
150 for the selling price.
Simply multiplying 3 times the 50, we get 150 for the selling price. What's the POR going to be? Since you all know all about PORs now,
Is it 8?
how you get 8?
You'll multiply 20 times 1, and then you'll divide, which is 20,000. Then you divide 160,000 by 20,000, and you get 8.
That's correct. So in this case, in terms of getting the predetermined overhead rate, is 1 hour. If you're making 20, it's going to take you 20,000 hours, okay? It's going to take you 20,000 hours. Then we simply divide 20,000 into 160, and we get a predetermined overhead rate of 8. Are there any questions?
No, sir.
All right, so no questions then. Go ahead and work number 7. So everybody work number 7.
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east, powers of air and invention. Hear me! Us! Hear
Oh,
us! Hail to the
dang,
guardians.
noise. We got this one done. What is our unit cost on number 7? The ink is 3 at 10, so that's going to be what? Is that 30?
30.
Yes.
The paper is 3 at 10, that's 30. Direct labor is 3 per hour, and the labor rate is 12. So what's the labor going to be? Are you
$4.
$4.
multiplying? You divide, so it's $4. MOH is going to be what?
Still gonna be 8.
They're going to be 8. So when you add all of these up, what's the total unit cost?
I need to move some of these tabs.
30, 30, 8, and
72.
4 is going to be how
72.
much?
72.
It's going to be 72. What's our selling price going to be?
216.
I would get 216.
You multiply 72 times, what's it, 3?
Yep, so that's 216. And what is our POR?
24.
How do you get 24 so fast?
Huh?
How did you get 24 so fast? So we're just talking. What's total overhead?
20,000.
I mean total overhead.
Oh. See, I think it's
That's 160,000, right?
160,000.
And what's our hours going to be? So we know that we're making how many?
3 per
20,000.
hour.
We're making 3 per hour. So how many hours is it going to take? Multiply and divide.
6,666
How
divided.
much?
Yeah, 6,000. 6,666.
667. And so our predetermined overhead rate is going to be how much?
24.
Is that 24? I'll take your word for it. Any questions? Okay. So let's move to do situation 3. So this is, we want to do uh, number B. So on this grouping, I want you to do number B. Hey, James, the presenter here. James, why don't you sign out and come back in?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have this one work?
Hey, Professor Boyd,
Yes.
I actually asked if you can enable the call-in feature. She said it's disabled. She trying to join through a call-in
Who's trying to join now?
through the call. Ashley,
Well,
she was in here.
people
Yeah, she
have
was in
called,
here. So she's trying to do a call-in.
but some people were on earlier and they called in. So the call-in feature is working. Uh, I'll check, but like I say, it's let's see. She might just have to come through, work with you. I'm not sure why that would be an issue.
She said she just go watch. She's in here. It's just her audio. She just having audio issues, but she can
Oh,
still
she's
see.
having audio issues. Is she
Yeah.
in now?
Well, she been in here. She was just having audio issues.
Okay, so she can't. She went out. Just tell
Yeah,
her to try to come back in.
yeah. She went out and came back in, but she said it's
Okay.
okay. But she can see though.
So do we have this one done? So let's look at it. Selling price multiples 3. In this case, the ink could do 40 books. So it wasn't a situation with 2 ink cartridges for a book. The $400 could do 40 books. So what's the ink going to be? Do we see the $10?
She'll be 10. Yeah.
Yeah, $10.
Then the paper, 2 reams at 10. So that's what?
20.
20,
Then it took you 2 hours to make the book. So what's the labor?
24.
24.
What's our estimate over there? 160. So just dividing by 20, our quantity, our overhead is what? 8.
8.
Yeah.
So total unit cost
62.
62.
and the selling price
186.
186.
and the POR.
4.
Are you multiplying or dividing?
Multiplying.
You're going to be multiplying. So you'd have 40,000 hours. You'd multiply 2 times the 20,000 books. That gives you 40,000 hours. Does everyone see that? You got to make 20,000 books. It takes you 2 hours per book. So that's 40,000 hours. 40,000 is then divided into the 160 to get you your 4. So now can everybody work these problems? So what I'm going
Hmm.
to do is this, because there's all kind of different answers as I was going through. I'm probably going to let you do a second submission. I'll have it due tomorrow night at 12. So all of these can be done corrected. And so when you send it to me the second time, I want everything correct. Is that possible?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to begin on that tonight. Is James back in there yet?
I've been in here.
Thought you were. Okay. Okay. So one thing, compared to the day students, as soon as class is over, you have the taping. But what they do is they run to the tutors and they stay hours and hours. And uh, so you all going to have to work to do that and have somebody on the team doing that. So is everybody in here on the team? Is everybody on the team?
Yeah.
How many teams do we have? Is it 6 or 7?
I think it's 6 because I was team 7, but you combined us and
Okay,
made us
so
team 1.
Kayvon, you team 1. Kayvon, then you are team what?
I'm team 7.
So we do still have, but Mike, is it 6 teams or 7 with that combination?
I thought it was 6. Let me pull it up.
I'm not in one.
Okay, so Robert Brown is not in a team. He needs to go to a team. So we'll work on that. Well, I'll leave it at 7 for now. Okay, so there's James.
Yeah, it's 7, Dr. Boyd. We had 8.
Okay, so let me see if I can send you all to breakout rooms based on your team. Pearson 4. Sue was this room 5. Let's see who got Demetrius room 1. Jalen 1. So in your breakout rooms, you'll begin to work on your quiz and everything. Can Robert, I'm gonna send you to room 7, I think. Who do we have left? Jason.